You know what time it is. It is time for Evan Abrams, the numbers guy. Evan Abrams, the director of research over at Action Network, here for another edition of Buying or Lying. Ev, how are you?
Great, Charles. New season, new time, cold weather, pumpkin. It's that time of year.
I
Can't
know the
wait.
fall is one of the more underrated seasons, I would say so myself. But we're going to play Buying or Lying Trend Edition. You have three more trends for me after last week to give it to you, to give it to me, and then I will tell you if the trend is buying or if it's lying. So, Ev, hit me with number one.
So, for the first time ever, we have a Friday night second opener after Baltimore and Kansas City. We've got Sao Paulo, Brazil, Packers, Eagles. Eagles about 2.5 point favorite, up from 1.5 earlier in the offseason. But the trend here is simple. I don't think many people know this because a lot of people talk about Dan Campbell and the ATS work he's done in Detroit. But since getting the job in 2019, Packers coach Matt LaFleur is a 53 and 37 ATS man over the last 5 seasons. So really good job there. He is the second most profitable coach just behind that man, Dan Campbell, both in the NFC North. But right now, he is an underdog in this game against Philly. And let's talk about the dog status a little bit. 32 times LaFleur has been a dog with the Packers. He's covered 22 of those 32. And here's the real kicker, by an average of 4 points per game. So pretty good mark there. And in the first 3 weeks of the regular season, LaFleur is 13-2 against the spread. Not too shabby. So Charles, are you buying the Packers? Are you buying the Eagles? I think I know you have a little bit of a preconceived notion here. I think you like Philly anyway, but something maybe you didn't know.
Listen, I didn't know this trend. I'm lying on this trend, right? Like I didn't know the trend and how good LaFleur was as an underdog, but I do like the Eagles in this matchup here. I just think that this game, and we talked about it, a couple weeks ago, a week ago, that there's a little bit of a tax on these double-digit win total teams. The Packers, the Lions in particular, I think are due for some downside, some negative regression. And dare I say that the Eagles are a little undervalued? Like they might be getting, Jahan Dotson's such a great weapon in that wide receiver three position. Their offense is dynamic. I think they're only going to go up from here after a disappointing end to last season. They were the lucky team, then all of a sudden it all crumbled. All that to say, I'm lying. I think that the Eagles are going to win here. I think they're going to win by over a field goal. So I'm happy to take the 2.5 points. If it was like 4.5, 5, different story. But I think the Eagles win this one. What's number two?
All right, let's talk about again another underdog situation, but we'll talk about familiar underdogs. So, divisional underdogs are 37, 15, and 1 ATS in week one since 2014, last decade, basically. Those teams are covering the spread by 4.8 points per game. Now, in week one this year, that is the Carolina Panthers, as I smile, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Las Vegas Raiders, and I should probably be smiling on the third one as well. You're going to be betting pretty bad teams here, but let's take it a little step further. So these division dogs in week one, 40, 38, and 2 straight up. Now, a $100 better would have almost a 33% ROI since 2010 in this spot. So just teams people don't want to put their money on
Yep.
tend to be the 2-1s, the 2-0s, the 3-0s in this spot early in the season. Charles, what are you doing with this ugly information?
I'm buying this one. I listen. I this is more my speed, Ev. This is the getting
All right.
gross, getting to where you don't want to be a part of that team. That's exactly when I want to buy. We did that with the Titans against the Bears. I threw on the Titans plus 4.5. Here's another great three teams: Carolina, Indy, and Vegas. You're fading the Texans with Indy. No one wants a piece of that. You're fading Carolina against New Orleans. Listen, Carolina, we just saw Brandon Anderson talk about it. A lot of people at Action are very high on the Panthers, me in general as well. I think it's always best to fade teams when the opposite and the public is all in on one side. I'm going to go the opposite, the other side. I zigzag, I can't function right now. But that, you know what I get to say. I'm going to zig when others are zagging. I'm going to go and buy this trend here. I'm going to be buying the ugly underdogs. Evan, round us home at number three.
All right, so we're 1-1 so far. Hopefully, I can get your backing on this one. But this is a simple one that we talk about every single year, and usually, doesn't hit every time. But 2-1, 3-1, 4-2. You end up kind of coming out on top. So since 2000, the loser of the previous Super Bowl has had a tough time kind of getting over the hump, the hangover we talk about. They are 10-14 straight up, but more importantly for bettors out there, 5-19 against the spread. Now, when those teams are favored by over a field goal, 9-4 straight up, no surprise, 4-9 against the spread. So we talk about the 49ers in the spot on Monday Night Football at home against the Jets. Now, 49ers were in the Super Bowl. Now, in 2020, they went through the exact same spot, and they actually lost at home to the Arizona Cardinals as 6.5-point favorites. So if you look at the line on this Monday game, though, it was 5.5. Now it's gone down to 4 and 4.5. So I honestly couldn't recommend this play at 4 or less. I think you need that extra hook to kind of get the value in the team that was in the Super Bowl last year. But more importantly, Charles, thoughts. Number 3, what do you like here?
I'm cautiously buying this one. And listen, I think I agree with you. The 6-point spread, I would have been all over it, and I missed the window on that one. And since then, now it's even down, I think, 3.5 in some of the spots too. At that point, you can't do it. Agreed, 100%. The Jets, listen, I agree with the sleepy spot, but also at the same time, we haven't seen Aaron Rodgers take a snap in a year and a half, aside from like the 3 before his Achilles injury. And I know there's so much drama with Trent Williams' holdout, Brandon Ayuk's holdout, but this is still the San Francisco 49ers. This line dropping more and more and more makes me even want to think about buying back on San Fran if it comes down to even like 3, because this number, you mentioned it, 5.5, 6 has come down to 4, 3.5. I'm cautiously buying this trend. I think it's very valuable, but I think I missed the boat on this one, and I think you would have had to buy it on the open rather than right now. And if you are going to buy it, make sure to get that 4.5. All right, Evan. 3. So you went 1, 1, and 1, I'd say. I'd say I cautiously buy as a push. 1's a buy, 1's a sell. But we'll see how week 3 goes, and we'll be back next week for NFL football actually starting up. So I'm excited for that, Ev. Thanks so much.